When we talk about India's path to mass prosperity, it's easy to get bogged down in the wrong conversation. But what if the problem isn't about finding better people? What if it's about building better places? Well, today we're going to unpack a really powerful framework that explains exactly that, and it's all based on the super sharp insights of former RBI Director Manish Sabharwal. All right, let's kick things off with this really provocative idea. There are no poor people, only people in poor places. Now, just think about that for a second. Sabharwal gives this great example of an electrician from Bihar. That same person with the exact same skills earns double in Lucknow. In Bangalore, 4 times more. And get this, a staggering 25 times more in Switzerland. The skills don't change. The ambition, the drive, that's the same. The only thing that changes is the place. So, okay, if the people aren't the problem, then what is? What's the real barrier that's holding India back from achieving that widespread prosperity we're always talking about? That's the big question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the right diagnosis. And honestly, this is where things get really, really interesting. Because it turns out the problem, well, it's probably not what you think it is. You see, for years and years, the whole debate was framed as a jobs problem. You know the drill. The solutions were always things like more government spending or forcing shorter work weeks. But here's the twist. Sabharwal says that's just the wrong diagnosis entirely. He argues the real issue is a wages problem. And that requires a totally different playbook, one that's all about boosting productivity through some serious, deep structural reform. So this is the absolute key takeaway. It's not about unemployment. It's about something he calls employed poverty. Millions and millions of people have jobs, right? But those jobs just don't pay enough to lift them out of poverty. They're working hard, but they're still poor. That's the real core challenge we're facing. Okay, so if the big problem is low wages, then what's the cause? What's the root of all this? Well, it's time to meet the villain of our story. It's a fantastic term Sabharwal came up with, regulatory cholesterol. So what exactly is this stuff? Well, it all starts with some absolutely mind-boggling numbers. Just try to imagine this for a second. You're an entrepreneur in India, trying to build a business. You have to deal with, get this, 67,000 different compliances. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no, every single year, you're on the hook for 6,700 different filings. Okay, but here's the one that just blows my mind. There are 26,000 different provisions in Indian law that could actually land an entrepreneur in jail for business offenses. I mean, can you imagine? With that constant threat hanging over your head, is it any wonder that so many businesses just struggle to get off the ground and grow? So that, right there, is regulatory cholesterol. It's this incredibly dense, tangled up mess of rules that basically suffocates businesses, especially the small guys. It's what stops them from growing, from becoming formal, and ultimately from creating the kind of high-wage jobs that India so desperately needs. But look, the good news here is that this isn't some unsolvable puzzle. The prescription is actually pretty clear. It's a 3-step process. First, you've got to rationalize the rules. Just slash that insane 67,000 number. Second, digitize the whole process, using India's amazing digital infrastructure. And third, and this is huge, decriminalize business. Stop treating entrepreneurs like criminals for making small mistakes.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, we've got the prescription for the cure, but how does this one piece fit into the bigger puzzle? Let's kind of zoom out now and look at the 5 big levers for creating a truly prosperous economy.
Now, this is where the philosophy behind it all gets really cool. It's a huge shift in thinking. The old way was to see the economy like a machine, something that planners could tinker with and engineer. But the new model sees it more like a complex, self-healing ecosystem. The government's job isn't to build the machine. It's to create a fertile habitat, like a good gardener, where growth can just happen on its own. So how do you actually build that habitat? Well, Sabharwal points to 5 key levers. There's formalization, which is all about bringing businesses out of the shadows. Urbanization, creating these powerful, productive city clusters. Industrialization, which means moving labor off the farms into more productive jobs. Financialization, getting money into the hands of entrepreneurs. And of course, human capital, making sure people have the skills they need to thrive. But, creating this kind of ecosystem requires a really fundamental change. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you do it. And check this out, because this comparison just perfectly illustrates why this change is so critical. Over the last 20 years or so, China's stock market actually went down, But they moved 300 million people from low-wage farm work into higher-wage jobs. They delivered wage growth. Meanwhile, India's stock market exploded, up 1,300%, but 45% of our workforce is still stuck on farms. We delivered shareholder growth. The goal now is to figure out how to do both.
So how do we get that wage growth? Well, the answer definitely isn't in big, flashy announcements. Sabharwal says the annual budget shouldn't be this giant fireworks show where we try to cram all the reforms into one single day. It just doesn't work. You can't solve deep structural problems with these once-a-year bursts of activity.
Instead, he says India's reforms need a dial tone. I love that analogy. What does it mean? It means the work should be continuous, persistent, totally unglamorous, and just always on. It's the daily grind, the plumbing and fixing of things in the background. That's what's going to make the real difference, not some big speech in Parliament.
And all of this brings us right here to this very moment, a really unique point in India's history where, the future feels like it's truly up for grabs. I mean, just think about the incredible convergence of factors we're seeing right now. You've got luck with global supply chains shifting all over the place. You've got skill, a world-class software industry and a really maturing entrepreneurial class. But the final and honestly the most critical ingredient is choice. It all comes down to making the right policy choices to finally capitalize on this moment. Sabharwal uses this great quote from Dumbledore, and it's just so perfect for this situation. India has the ability, no question. It has the potential, but its destiny, that's going to be revealed by the choices it makes right now. The choice to tackle that regulatory cholesterol, and the choice to pull those 5 big levers of growth. And that really is the defining question, isn't it? Can India make the right choices to build that fertile habitat for prosperity? The path seems pretty clear, and the opportunity is right here, right now. Making those tough, consistent, dial-tone choices, that's the final step. It's what takes a country from being just interesting to being truly important on the world stage. Thanks so much for joining me for this.